So there's been some time spent over the last couple of months talking about this PEC program, right? Temporary workers here in Quebec, and some of the ones who'd come in here under the program now suddenly being told by the CAC, sorry, we're changing the rules. You're not going to get to stay, and eventually you apply for permanent residency. And a lot of people, rightly so, said, wait a sec. Basically, we had one set of rules and qualifications we needed to have when we came into this province, and now you're basically changing the game midstream, which is going to force some people to just go home or maybe even go to another province, I guess. So then last week, from what I understand, the federal government announces some new measures for temporary foreign workers, that essentially would allow them, right, to apply for this, temporary Quebec certificate because the program's changing its name, and they'd continue to be able to work here until they receive their certificate, which would allow them then, I imagine, to apply for permanent residency. On the surface, that seemed like a pretty reasonable idea and obviously would help some people. But I'm guessing now, based on what I've seen, reaction from some, including our next guest, that's not in fact the case. Yves Martineau is an immigration lawyer. He is on the phone. Mr. Martineau, thank you for being here. Why is this not a significant improvement to what's already here?
Hi. It is not a significant improvement because it is very limited. So to put ourselves in context, to get access to this measure, an applicant must have received an invitation to apply under this new PSTQ. They must have submitted their application. They must be on a closed work permit that is about to expire between today and December 31st, 2026. So having a closed work permit means that your work permit is solely for one employer in one job in one location. Therefore, this leaves out everyone who has an open work permit. That means those who have a post-graduation work permit, a working holiday visa, or an open work permit as an accompanying spouse of a worker or a student.
So are you, if I understand right, are you suggesting this is more performative than anything else?
Oh, I'm not suggesting it. I'm saying it very, very clearly. It is so because for people who already have a certificate of selection of Quebec, there already is a stream to extend the work permit. It is called an A73. So it's been on for years. If you have a certificate of selection of Quebec and you have a work permit closed or open in Quebec, your employer will be able to register the job offer in the employer portal, pay a $230 fee, and with that, you will be able to extend your work permit for 2 years without the need to get a labor market impact assessment. What this changes now is for people who will have a work permit that is about to expire in a few months, who maybe will not have time to get their certificate of selection of Quebec, and will be able to apply for a closed work permit. And the benefit is that the employer will have the $230 fee waived. But the number of people who will benefit from that is restricted. We don't have numbers, and we're very happy for those people. It is a good news for a good number of people, but it's not a wonderful news because so many people are left out.
So to your point, there's a very specific number of people that will be helped out, which, as you said, is positive in and of itself. But we know the problem here extends to not a couple of people. There's thousands of people who will be affected by this. We've heard from enough employers worried now, but they're going to have to replace some of these people. Have already started to see them leave Quebec. What's in the works for that to change, if anything?
Not much. And it's still... we still have the major issue, which is that the PEC candidates, the frustrated PEC candidates, are still in limbo. So I was making this exercise before we spoke. I took a few cases. Let's say a personal support worker, a IT developer, a person who's an elementary school teacher, who are in their 30s, a 35-year-old, for example, who speak good French, who have 2 years of qualified work experience in Quebec, would not have received an invitation to apply at this point under the PSTQ. It means that these people could not at all benefit from this measure.
Wow. First of all, these are people you think we'd want to keep here, as you're describing. They're bringing something with them. They're young as well. Chances are they might want to stay here. this was a federal initiative that it seemed like, maybe, as they say, their heart was in the right place, but at the end of the day, as you're describing, that's clearly not enough. Are you seeing a change in reaction from the provincial government in wanting to deal with this, or is that not there?
It's not there. Actually, what we've heard the provincial government do is just to blame the federal government. But the core issue is that the PEC is closed and many people are left out because they cannot receive an invitation to apply under the PSTQ, and they would have quite well qualified under the PEC. This has been the issue since October 2024. It's still an issue today, and it is not resolved. And what we hear is the Quebec government blaming everything on the federal government, but the responsibility for permanent residency in Quebec is solely on the shoulder of Quebec. And here, this measure from the federal government is only to extend work permits from a certain number of selected people, and it's clearly not enough. On the federal part, we can say that there's a restriction which is all across Canada for labor market impact assessment. It is limited for people who are receiving a low wage, and a low wage is now defined as 20% more than the median wage, which is in Quebec $34 per hour and 62 cents, which is still a reasonable wage. So if an employer is in a zone where the unemployment rate is 6% or above, they cannot apply for such a labor market impact assessment unless it's in agriculture, health, construction, or food transformation. So this is a pan-Canadian issue, but in Quebec, access to permanent residency is the issue based mainly on the suspension and the removal of the PEC.
Look, I'm wondering, too, I don't want to make this political. I mean, we keep talking about the CAQ. That's a government in power. Have you heard anything to suggest that, we have an election coming up in not that many months from now, that other parties are willing to look at this and perhaps change the program?
Oh, that's a very good question. I do not know. I know that the two contenders to replacing Mr. Legault made some promises about the PEC. The most generous one was Christine Fréchette, but we'll see what happens in April. And then in fall, it's really, really hard to tell. Traditionally, the Liberal Party is more inclined to policies that favor immigration. The Parti Québécois said that they wanted to have even lower targets than the CAQ in terms of immigration, so hopes are low if it's the Parti Québécois. Yeah. But it's very hard to predict that.
Listen, you have clients, obviously you're an immigration lawyer. After this announcement by the feds, did you get people thinking, wow, this is good news for me? Were they sort of misled by this, do you think?
Most people were quite disappointed. Okay. Those who benefit from that already had their spirits up because they got the invitation to apply, because they have their process going on, and there's a very limited number of people who have a work permit that is very close to expiring. So I saw a few people saying, "Okay, that's good news," but I saw many more people saying, "Oh, this is so disappointing."
Mm-hmm. So we're back to kind of the same situation after that whole PEC program, came about, or at least when the government changed the program. You just basically have to sit and wait and hope for the best. That's where we're at right now, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Mr. Martineau, appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.